Hello, dear friends, and welcome. I am Nicole Beecham, and this is the Energetic Pathway Podcast, Journey Back to Yourself. I'm so glad that you're here. Each week, we will explore a range of topics, all aimed at helping you journey back to your true self. Let's jump into today's topic together. Let's go ahead and actually start out by gently stepping into our body, being more aware of the space around us, whether that's in your car or whether you're in your house. Wherever you're at, just take a second to look with your eyes and just notice some things around you. Like right now, I'm sitting in my dining room and I'm noticing just the simple cover that goes over this microphone. Noticing the texture, noticing the color, noticing the light. Then after you do that with one item, go ahead and bring your attention to something else. Noticing a painting, noticing the leaves on this plant, doing something just as simple as noticing the details, the lines, the textures, the colors of things around us can help take us out of the past, help get us out of worrying about the future, and put us more in the present moment within our bodies in the here and now. I hope everyone has been having a really good week and that all has been going well since the last time we were together. So today's episode is going to focus on following what feels light. So what does that even mean? So when we're in our body and we have a decision that we need to make, it could be a big decision or a small decision. It really doesn't matter. If we are able to stop, and sometimes you may want to place your hand on your stomach or on your heart if you're able, and just run through those options. Your body tends to send very clear signals on what feels light versus what feels heavy. So basically, we're going to be learning more about how do we actually listen to our body and trust our intuition. And within that, we're going to actually start the conversation out talking about why we don't trust our intuition. And so from a very young age, we come into this world and quite honestly, we remember coming out as a baby. We remember a lot of things from before we came here, where we were before we came here. And that may be an edge for some people, so it's okay. Just roll with me. And whenever we come here, we're then putting these little tiny bodies where the only way we can communicate with the world is really by screaming, by crying, right? And we don't really have a voice. And then by the time we're old enough to talk and to start using our voice, we're very quickly taught what to say, what not to say. When we get moving around, we're taught what to do, what not to do, where you can go, where you can't go. It's like from the moment we arrive, boundaries are placed around us, often to keep us safe. And within those boundaries, our natural intuition tends to be stifled as well. And I think it's important for us to remember that, to know that some of our intuition was stifled. And it could have been that we grew up with a family that lived in anxiety or fear or, was struggling to make ends meet from paycheck to paycheck. And so you needed to be small and fit in and be in line in order to make life as easy as possible on everyone. Or maybe you were a free-willed child from the very beginning. And then over the years, you learned, all right, when I do that, mom and dad gets upset, or they get mad, or they start crying, or they get angry and yell, or I get punished. And so you learn to taper that back. And I'm not saying these are bad things. We all need to learn to be aware of our own self and how we come across in the world and our experiences and how what we do and say affects others. And our society really does take it to an extreme most of the time. And what happens is between our school systems and our work systems and our family systems and our friend systems, we end up coming into adulthood quite honestly not feeling like we can trust ourselves. This isn't true for everyone, but it's true for a lot of people that I work with and that I know. And so then we start trying to get our validation externally from others. So when we need to make a decision, and I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with this or have done this, I'm sure many of you have, instead of just stopping and asking ourselves what decision we need to make, we instead reach out to all of our friends, or many of our friends, or some of our friends, or family members, and we tell them all the details, and we rely on them to tell us what they think we should do. Which is great, right? Because sometimes our friends can provide an amazing perspective that we're not thinking about ourselves. However, when we learn to rely so much on that, we step outside of our own power and we start trusting our intuition less and less, especially when what we think we need to do is different from what others may think we need to do. And the other thing when we talk about following what feels right, what feels light, stepping into your intuition, that we have to discuss is that sometimes our bodies can send mixed signals. Not often, not as much as you may think, but sometimes it can. And a lot of times that's going to come from some sort of traumatic experience that you had in your past. Maybe you said something to an ex-boyfriend and he completely lost it on you. Maybe he started screaming and yelling. Maybe it led to a big argument. Over time, when we have those type of experiences, especially when they're repeated or extreme, we start thinking, maybe I can't trust myself. Maybe I can't trust what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. And as those build up over time, the trauma really can come to the point where our views, our perspectives are clouded by this massive lens of trauma. So when a friend says to you, I'm sorry, I can't, I have plans tonight, that simply may mean, I'm sorry, I can't, I have plans tonight. And for some people, because of past traumatic experiences, innocently, there's no judgment here. It may be heard as, this person doesn't like me and doesn't want to spend time with me. And that's often not the case. But our lens can become cloudy, right? So I say both why we don't trust our intuition, as well as sometimes our body can send us mixed signals, just to point out the importance of us doing our own healing work to get back into our bodies so we can actually read the thermostat of our body. Not the heat thermostat, but the emotional thermostat, the reaction, the feelings that come up for you. So you can start witnessing those feelings as an observer, not someone who's immersed in them. And so that you can start making better decisions. And sometimes those decisions that you're going to make are not going to make a lot of sense to those around you. I've had many of those experiences lately. I'll tell you about a couple of them real quick. So one, and I've shared this in a previous episode, was my decision to leave academia. Stepping out of a full-time position with really good pay, amazing benefits, being 5 years away from being fully vested in my retirement. And it's almost like a dream job, right? You work on campus only a few days a week. It's very flexible. You get summers off. Like there's so many perks. There's so many benefits to it. You get to work with amazing students and some incredible colleagues. And my body didn't want to do it anymore. And so I listened for a while to all the people telling me, you need to stay and you have no idea what you're giving up and what are you thinking and just all this stuff, right? And I let that win for so long. And then eventually I was like, no, I am choosing to trust me. I'm trusting myself and I'm trusting what feels light to my body. So, what does that mean? What feels light? It is that gut feeling that tends to happen in your stomach. For those of you who are familiar with the energy centers of your body, and that stomach solar plexus area tends to be what tells us what feels light to us and what does not feel light. So, let me give you a little experience. I want you to think about a decision you have coming up. And actually, maybe I'll just give you a scenario to make it easier. So let's just say someone reaches out to you, one of your friends or an acquaintance, whatever makes the most sense here, and they want you to go to dinner with them. And they're so excited to invite you to dinner, and they reach out and they're like, will you go to dinner with me? So in that moment, you may be like, yes, because you could be in a good mood because we make decisions based upon the current mood that we're in, right? So maybe it's 11 a.m. in the morning, you've had your coffee, you've gotten to the work groove, you're in just such a really good mood and it just feels like a yes. So you're like, yes, absolutely, I want to go to dinner. So you make that plan. So now you have a commitment after work gets done to go to dinner with this friend or this acquaintance or work colleague, whoever it is that you use for the scenario. And then let's say something came up at work and you had to skip lunch. And then by around 2 to 3 p.m., you're done. You've had a really hard day. All you want to do is go home and get into bed. But now you can't because you have dinner plans. Those great, amazing dinner plans that several hours ago sound amazing now are draining your energy and now is not resonant to your body. Your body is saying, I don't want to do that. Yet many of us would not cancel those plans because we're conditioned to honor our plans and uphold our plans. But if it's one of those situations and one of those days where you know that you're done, you're energetically done. If you go to this dinner, you're just going to end up coping. That may look like a substance. It may look like eating. That may look like, just word vomiting out on the conversation. And then you're more than likely going to leave the dinner feeling worse than you did when you went there, especially if this person is not an energetic match for you and isn't someone who can hold space really well and help you increase your energy levels. So if you were to be in that situation and just imagine it, just imagine that level of overwhelm, that level of stressed outness, that not having food since breakfast. And now you're sitting here faced with meetings and then going straight from meetings to this dinner. I want you to just put your hand on your stomach if you're able. If you're not able, it's fine. Just put your attention on your stomach area and play through the options. Can go to this dinner with my friend. See how that feels for your body. When I say that right now, for me, imagining myself in that scenario, it makes my stomach have this little bit of a pit in it. It makes my chest feel tight. It just doesn't feel light. It feels heavy. Now play out another scenario. What if I reach out to my friend and tell them I'm really having a hard day, and instead of our current plans, what if we just grab takeout and hang out at my house? Again, rest your attention on your stomach. How does that feel? For me, it feels a little lighter, especially in my stomach, but I can still feel a little tightness in my chest. And then play out the last scenario. What if I reschedule? I go home, I eat a dinner, an early dinner since I missed lunch, and then I climb into the bath with some low music. And then after my bath, I'll just spend time watching TV or reading a book. How does that sound? And again, checking in with that stomach area, with your chest. To me, I can still feel the overwhelm of the scenario, but compared to the other two scenarios, it sounds so much lighter and feels so much lighter in my body. And here's the beautiful thing, all that overwhelm you're experiencing, once you stop and make the decision and you text your friend and you reschedule that dinner reservation, your overwhelm will lighten. The overwhelm from the initial experience that you had, not even the dinner plans, will start to lighten because you're honoring your intuition. You're honoring what's right for you and your body, and you're following what feels light. So that's just a small example of what this looks like. And I just invite you all to start playing with this. Start playing with, what does it look like when I'm making decisions? What feels light? What feels heavy? What doesn't match me energetically? And just start listening to it. Another experience I'll share about is about an upcoming trip to Guatemala, and very few people actually know about this. But I've decided that my kid gets out of school in May, and in June, like, we're going to go to Guatemala for the month. And I'm so excited. I've talked to people about it, and, it doesn't sound completely practical. And, there's logistical things that are at play and all this stuff. But the second I made that decision and I decided not to really care what anybody else thought about it, just to honor what I know that I need to do for me and my kid, the second I made that decision, the universe, God, the world started supporting me. Within 24 hours, I was able to have the exact location that I'm going to be staying come in, found a homeschooling program for my kid so that she can have something to do during the day with other people that also speak English so she doesn't feel alone. I connected with probably 7 locals unintentionally. And by unintentionally, I mean I didn't know them beforehand. They were just referred to me by people one after another. And I honestly feel like we're walking into a place where we're going to have an immediate built-in community with places to go and people to see. And I'm ecstatic about it. And it involved me not listening to the younger parts of myself that were kind of freaking out. Like, what? You're just going to leave the whole country for a month? Yes, I am. Holding space for that younger part of me, sitting with it in love and understanding and patience, but also staying true to what I know felt light to my body. And as I did that and all these pieces started coming into play, it's actually kind of amazing because now I'm seeing in my external environment people fully supporting my decision. I'm seeing that I'm actually inspiring other people to think about the way that they're living their lives and the boxes they're putting themselves in and some of the boxes they can break out of, both with the academic experience as well as this one. So I encourage you to start thinking about what feels light. Play with this. It's a gentle practice. Play with it just a little bit at a time. And then start with very small decisions. Maybe it's like, what feels light right now is I go to Starbucks and I get a mocha. Honor it. Maybe normally you wouldn't do that. Or maybe you normally would go get a mocha and instead what feels light is going to walk around the gardens. Listen to your body, give it options, ask it yes and no questions, and feel for the answer. Does this feel light? That's the question. And you can ask it for so many situations, so many situations. I'll have a few more resources for this in the show notes. And there's also an upcoming Journey to Self-Love group class that is going to be offered. And this is going to be a safe and gentle exploration of walking into loving yourself deeper. And it's a new 4-week class that's going to meet via Zoom every Tuesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. from March the 26th through April the 16th. So within this group format, we're going to cover a variety of issues. In week 1, we're going to talk about what is self-love, why it's important, and why loving ourselves better is actually key to loving others better. In week 2, we're going to talk about the obstacles to self-love, things that may be getting in the way of us loving ourselves better. That may be your experiences from your childhood. It could be societal expectations or just this busy world that we live in. On week 3, we're going to have a guided self-love experience and activation. I'm really excited about that week. I think it's going to be fun and very healing for everyone. And then on the final week, we're going to have the role of boundaries and loving ourselves more, and how those boundaries can be set, how sometimes our boundaries do need to be flexible, and how we can set boundaries and still love and honor others at the same time. So if this is something that you're interested in, I'm going to put a link in the show notes, and feel free to tell your friends and your family members that may be a good fit. And until next time, I hope you all have a really good rest of your week.